This week on Hermitcraft, Azumavoid is dead now.
No, actually, I'm right here. I'm good, thank you.
Sometimes I can still hear his voice. Welcome to the Hermitcraft recap. My name is Pixorifs, our writer is SloyXP. Captions on this video were provided by Liara, and this is Doc M77 in Hightail. Let's all say thank you to Doc M for not only being in Hightail. With every new hyperfixation, Hermitcraft Recap is sweating, hoping that these people will find time to release some Minecraft videos. But our job is secured because it's gonna take a while to pull anyone away from the server now that Good Times with Scar has officially finished the shopping district. You all know the shops are what Hermitcraft is all about, so much so they even moved the spawn point to the central square from the Nether, which is a robbery. It was way funnier in the Nether. As for what fate befell the starter shops that existed before the district was founded, let's find out as we take a look at all the events and mishaps that occurred on the Hermitcraft server this week. Starting with Good Times with Scar, who is the mayor of the shopping district. Sloy, this is footage from Season 7. How do you even make that mistake?
Gotta get rid of the sign. We've gotta clean this place up because it is looking atrocious. And quite honestly, a little bit of an embarrassment for Hermitcraft.
This time running unopposed, Scar runs through a year's worth of materials to establish the infrastructure that would help this season's shops grow big and strong, but also prevents Doc M from putting a build height tall hourglass down the middle of it. Thankfully, LaudividniYT has donated a few chests of piglin-sourced blackstone to the cause, which Scar ignores completely and builds the roads out of deep slate instead.
What? I need these for the roads!
Overall, the space is divided into two main areas, the outer roads with plenty of space to build, and the pop-up shop central square, designed specifically so people can put their stalls down somewhere without having to worry about building the back of the store, but this time on purpose. And if they do it by accident, the local sheriff will be paying them a visit. Skizzleman ditches the Popo outfit in exchange for being the lone enforcer who's gonna clean up this town. At least that's how it starts, and trust me, I know where this ends, and it's with Toy Story references. At least he has a friend in Good Times with Scar, who approves of the outfit and of Skizz's strategy for handling free samples. It's free, so they're taking all of it.
I didn't know you were a Lego fan.
Oh yeah, hey, it's a bucket list item to do a big Lego set with Sir Scar. What do I call you by that? Do I call you Sir Mr. Monopoly Scar? I need to know the full title here.
Along with Scar's vision for the shopping district, Skizz also receives a vision of some kind of dark entity chomping the roof of his starter house, which means it's finally time to tear the whole thing down and time-lapse something a little larger and a lot mossier. He's envisioning some kind of towering and rickety old library, which perhaps makes sense when the funding is coming from a single mangrove shop. But hey, at least that has an interior now, and Skizz is able to shift his focus to digging out the area for his eventual roller coaster through the human psyche.
That is creepy!
Ironically, the first business in the revamped shopping area is none of your business, because it's a zombie Cleo joint. Really, it's none business at all, because Cleo is not profit-seeking, and just trying to get rid of the excess sea lanterns from their guardian farm on a server where a lava block can burn your house down. Any passers-by can try out the role of a humble cactus and pinch whatever sea lanterns they want with no strings attached, in a truly unprecedented situation for this server. Cleo themselves can't be bothered running a shop because they're too busy joining the moss war on the side of freaking moss.
That's a lot of vegetation, and I do have a bucket.
Lacking in the usual greenery, they cover up their latest terraforming job in moss and debate also covering it in invisible maps to add cracks in the rocks. Because apparently False Symmetry came across some village treasure maps that display as completely empty when put in an item frame. That way what is still displayed are the river veins, so you get these brown lines on the side of a block.
As a random incidental thing, genius. Genius!
In more traditional detailing, Cleo also rebuilds a bat armor stand art from their Patreon server inside Tango's sleeping sanctum, in case you were wondering where that came from or why it's not going anywhere. Somehow, that is still easier than luring an actual Minecraft bat anywhere at all, ever.
Naxator, who is a member of my server, has made little tiny bats. And I've already told Naxator that I'm stealing this. So of course I am, but...
False Symmetry, by the way, has reached episode 10 of this 10-week-old server, and to celebrate, once again doubles the sheer footprint of her base build. Better invest now, because with this going, the projections are looking wild.
Very weird looking bridge so far, isn't it?
This is accompanied by continuing the bridge theme of the base now in the opposite direction, reaching out vaguely towards Rendog's base and absolutely dwarfing the small stream that the bridge is actually built over. As such, False Symmetry has become the antithesis to herself from last season, but what's important is that there's actually a way to get into Raya Lucaria from there, in case you don't feel like fighting Godric this time.
Thought it was worth one more view of this with shaders on as I'm just walking through. I don't usually put shaders on when I'm walking because I think they're mostly for cinematic shots, but look at this. We've got a little bit of a sunset, I think, going on.
In an equally mythical approach to bridges, Doc M and Smallish Beans decide to build a rainbow bridge linking their two bases. If this is the Bifrost of Norse legend, Doc M is definitely providing the frost, so I guess Joel is providing the Bi.
Did this concept also not speak to you there on Reddit? I think it explained it perfectly.
Mostly they want to stay out of the shadow of the mountain Tango is building to contain Decked Out. The looming landscape happened to Doc much more suddenly because he spent a few days inside his own custom terraformed landscape getting his storage system into shape. After passing initial testing, the bottleneck turns out to be shulker boxes, and even Tango and Impulse's farm isn't quite fast enough for his needs. So while he did state his aim was to build farms that had interesting quirks instead of just being optimized for speed, he'll probably tackle the shulker supply issue himself. After all, he's got to free up time to prank Good Times with Scar again.
Alright, guys. Yeah, but it's this time again. You know, it was one of these weeks where I put endless amount of work in and it didn't feel like too much great footage of an episode emerged.
Things are just as storage on the other side of the Bifrost as Joel Smallish Beans preps to dig the deepest level of his basement yet and naturally runs out of pickaxe durability. Well, first he runs out of not having beacon in the first place, which is why Joel summons and fights off a wither boss, then he runs out of pickaxe durability until he upgrades the digging tools to netherite, and then he snaps completely and just TNT dupes his way through the deep slate. What stone he does gather goes out to Gemini Tay as a sign of neighbor hospitality, but also he's been snatching stuff from her farm, so it evens out. Overall, it's a relatively normal Joel episode, with only minor spiraling, which has to be because his New Year's resolution was to delete Twitter off his phone. Good job, Joel. Now finish the job and delete it from everyone else's phones too.
Hopefully not as big as this room, though, as this is stupid.
Snail mail is coming back, in a big way. Joe Hills, for example, is doing a mail-in questionnaire provided by Cubfan, and we're including this clip of him answering just because he says butts.
Fifth question, will Minecraft add a new ore? A will add new ands and buts.
After helping the world ring in the new year, Joe takes down his Christmas decorations, which we promise was a timely thing to do at the time the footage was recorded, but he's still in the festive spirit as he discusses what makes a good New Year's resolution. In his case, it's mostly about karaoke. But good deeds are still not off the table, as he drops off all the amethyst the Nether Hub could possibly need, contributes to the deep slate, but finds the bone block deposit chest rather too full of pink fluff for him to hand anything over.
Bone blocks, bone meal, or magenta dye. Looks like all the magenta dye that was going to be the net result of the bone blocks has been delivered.
Cubfan135's Christmas Snowman is not going anywhere for now. He's actually quite stumped about what to do with the giant prank Jevin left him a few weeks ago. Though the thing might melt on its own, what with the heat output of Cub's own base ballooning over this episode, Cub's a known super smelter enjoyer, so it's not entirely surprising that he would build one. It is, however, striking that he built a second one just to process kelp for the main one. Unlimited fuel, sure, but it does feel like having a nuclear power plant just to run a microwave.
So, long story short, we have unlimited fuel now. We just gotta wait for it to... And we should also get dried kelp blocks showing up into this chest eventually, depending on how often we smelt.
Hypnotized, by the way, also has been what we can only describe as cooking, but we'll also describe it as building a void box bigger than his base, then putting an automatic auto sorter in 1/4 of it. Now this could just be a single really fattened up copper golem, but with how the little green men worked out for his neighbors...
Up here... Oh! My voice just went...
Hypno figured a good old hopper-dropper arrangement would be a safer bet. Which does bring us to the perpetrator of the patina invasion, Azumavoid, who now resides as a fully oxidized statue in Azumavoid's base, forever enjoyed as a furniture piece by the owner of the base, Azumavoid.
And also just take a moment to appreciate this amazing lighting contraption.
In short, with his robot arc over, X is back to his Doom Guy outfit, ready to explain redstone contraptions to any who would listen, just like he always did. Mostly as of late, he's been experimenting with the coloured lighting effect, where a map filled with a single coloured block is displayed over a light source and then toggled on and off with redstone, creating basically a running RGB strip, where B stands for beige because that's the easiest colour map X could get.
That's pure endstone, thanks to Cubfan.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's done the hard work there. That's
exactly.
Amazing.
He's also been trying to get a coral zombie nautilus farm started, but the deep sea creature has delivered characteristically abysmal rates. And only having bundled that project, Azuma remembers one of his true passions, still not recognised by the wider Hermitcraft community, bundles. Which is why he opens a bundle tutorial experience at the newly established shopping district, where any passerby can learn about the best egg bag practices and get a free one for their time.
And then I've also got like some suggestions on other things that you could use them for, and then a reminder that they can take a bundle before they leave.
Impulse SV may not have seen that tutorial yet, but he's certainly seen the one about using boats as doors. After establishing the decor for his trading hall, he adds a retractable garage door made of pale oak flotation devices. It's a welcome distraction from the laborious task of making sure his stonemasons trade him every type of terracotta. To help with the task of trading, though, he builds a raid farm. In 2026, nature is truly healing. And while this doesn't spawn raids on top of each other like the old designs did, it sure does help when you need a healthy supply of emeralds and rock-bottom book prices.
Weird. This is like the weirdest raid farm I've ever used, but it seems to be working.
His other responsibilities come knocking when Pearlescent Moon summons him to the scene of a fire, then judges him worthy of receiving the official fire department siren, his own truck, and the netherite armor she promised him. He'll have to add the flame decals himself, though. Impulse isn't the only one with fancy doors, because XB Crafted now has better access to the backstage area of his base, thanks to some fancy redstone. And as if summoned by the act of someone building a double piston extender, Mumbo arrives to go caving for andesite without realizing he's on XB's plot.
Just about, but I will follow you. I'm so lost. I'm like completely lost.
Okay.
I was just mindlessly like flying around and listening to an audiobook.
The ever-generous XB offers him a full shulker of the stuff, and in exchange, he just asks for a voice clip he can add to the FedXB soundboard.
But I still have the skiz noises on my villagers, so this sounds great.
The copper aesthetic is enhanced by the addition of warped wood with a farm productive enough that he can give away a lot of it, but there's no substitute for the real thing, so XB raids a few trial chambers for more copper before setting up a new wing of his interior for bamboo, sugarcane, and bee farms. The tall plants end up growing inside something that looks like a black box theatre, so expect them to start an improv team any day now. The Dread Pirate Ijevin actually improves his domain quite significantly, by which I mean he drowns a significant part of the server around his boats, creating a massive lagoon that he then promises to actually terraform, but underwater. And we don't want to brush over the fact that to get here he had to re-gear in netherite and also summon the General Hermitcraft Digging Council. There was a lot of land to lub here, but land lub he did, successfully disintegrating a whole plateau and filing it down to the sea level, forming the very funny to say Javen Haven. And finally there's Zedaf, who rides a zombie piglin, which I guess is a thing you can do in this game.
And how are you riding?
That's the real question.
Wait. Hold on. Let me think this through.
Figure it out.
I can figure this out. Hold on. It's really early in the morning. I can figure this out.
In fact, there's a surprising amount of piglin riding technology that comes with having Zedaf stuck on a hostile monster. Pearlescent Moon, for example, manages to put the both of them on a lead and then parades the two around the server. Unable to stop leading them, by the way, so that's hilarious. And they do want to unlead it, just so Azumavoid can punch the guy and see if it continues chasing him, which it does, with Zedaf still on its head. With these shenanigans, it's hard to remember that Zedaf does actually have a base that he lives in and keeps building too, and doesn't actually only log on to show you increasingly cursed visuals. But here we are. And that's about it for this week's recap. Our writer is SloyXP, and my name is Pixel Riffs. Captions on this video were provided by Liara. Don't forget to leave a like while you're still here, and subscribe so you won't miss future recaps. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.